Consulting has been interesting. Sometimes I'm on a conference call with a whole team of editors, and sometimes I'm accepting a package of 144 Rubik's Cubes. How did we get here?
First of all, if you want to watch one of my consulting calls, I made one of them into a video. Check it out. One of my recent clients, Ashton, runs a business called Twist Pixel. A lot of his videos are pretty boring, so I'm helping him fix that because the product they showcase is actually really cool. These are puzzle cube mosaics. I'd never seen anything like it. You have to solve them one cube at a time, and then mount it to the wall using this modular system of slabs that he invented. I looked at this and thought, I want one of those for my office. Now, I've made a lot of improvements to my office since we moved here, like replacing the carpet and lights, adding trim, fixing the drywall, repainting the walls to a neutral gray, which reflected too much in my main monitor, so I repainted just the back wall to a much darker gray. I also added soundproofing, blinds, a shelf, more desks, and a do not disturb sign. Now that the space is functional, I want to make it more aesthetically pleasing. This side of the office is basically the gaming area, so when looking at the Twist Pixel website, I realized, oh, of course, I can just put up some retro pixel art. I can make anything I want. I want to put my mosaic in this space right next to my retro game corner. After some measurement, I see that my absolute maximum possible size is 25.5 by 64 inches, which could fit 11 by 28 of the large cubes, or 21 by 54 of the smaller cubes. Yeah, there's two sizes. However, I don't think it really looks good to fill up this space completely. I want to leave some wall around it. But depending on the dimensions I choose, I might need a custom-sized frame, which is more expensive. Not that I'm paying for this. The small cubes typically come with a 10 by 10 cube frame, and the full-size cubes typically come with a 6 by 6 cube slab. I think I prefer the full-size cubes. Stacking 3 or 4 slabs of them would look like this. So, I want some retro pixel art, but which series should it be from? Mario, Metroid, Zelda? Let's do Zelda. But which game? The first one? Maybe. The second one? Definitely not. Maybe one of the Game Boy games? And what should the scene even show? Just Link standing there, holding up the Master Sword maybe? Maybe a Triforce in the background? That would be easy. I looked around for Zelda screenshots online, hoping that inspiration would strike. And that's when I saw it. Link getting attacked by chickens. It's perfect. Technically they're cuckoos, whatever. So if you don't know, I think in like every Zelda game, you can hit a cuckoo with your sword, it'll squawk and run away, but if you keep hitting it, an army of cuckoos will appear out of nowhere and peck you to death. I've even raised chickens myself. They will peck you if they get annoyed, mostly if they're sitting on eggs.
Double yoker.
Now I just need to make this idea into a design. It's pretty hard to find a good screenshot of these retro Zelda games. They're mostly ruined by bad scaling and JPEG compression, so I don't know exactly where the pixels are supposed to go. I have the game, but only on CRT. I can't screenshot that. And that's when I remember, oh, sprite sheets. Of course, these are perfect. You can easily find these for almost any game just by Googling it. Using them for animation is like a whole genre on Newgrounds.com. Remember Newgrounds? No? It's still around. Anyway, now I can choose from any of Link's poses. By the way, if you're looking for background art, the keyword is tileset. I think this sprite is the best one to represent Link's state of mind when being attacked by chickens. As for those, there are really only 2 sprites to choose from. I think this one looks best. Let's throw all that into Photoshop, including the chicken shadows, and adjust the positions of everything to make it aesthetically pleasing and fit in the frame. Perfect. But now we have to choose colors. The screen you're watching this on probably has at least 16.7 million colors. By comparison, the SNES could display just 256 different colors simultaneously. That's the system this Zelda game was made on. Rubik's Cubes, by comparison, only have 6 colors: yellow, red, orange, blue, green, and white. That's it. So I've got to take this art and reduce the palette significantly. And I've got to be real careful or it's gonna look terrible. like this result I got from an online Rubik's Cube mosaic generator. So I'm gonna choose the colors myself. The ground will be green. Moving on, we need to change these dark outlines into something. There's no black, unfortunately, so we'll just have to go with the next best thing, blue. It's the darkest color we have access to. Remember this thing about how every color has its own inherent luminosity? Yeah, we're doing that. Moving on, let's change the red to, red. Now the browns. They'll have to be yellow or orange. Starting with orange, Link's face looks pretty bad right now, but the chickens look great. There's still one out-of-gamut color on the chickens, used for their shading. I tried every other color, including white, which is pretty good, but it makes them look a bit flat. And I ultimately chose yellow. Yellow is a bit darker than white, remember the luminosity thing? So it works as shading, and it kind of mimics the flashing that happens when you actually attack a chicken. So I like to imagine that these ones are still flashing in anger. I tried to make Link's face entirely yellow, but it looks even worse than orange. What about dithering half yellow and half orange? No, it's not much better. Maybe I could use these colors as shading instead. Okay, that's already looking better. Anyway, the only choice for Link's clothing is green. His sleeves are supposed to be brown, which I just don't have, so maybe orange, red. I eventually just made them green as well. With a bit of Photoshop magic, we can see what this might look like on my wall. That's great, but I think I can do better. Based on some designs from Twist Pixel, I decided to dither the background so that it wouldn't be the same color as Link's clothes. I went with yellow, not that I had much of a choice. I tried some basic dithering, but it didn't look great, so I decided to use the grass texture from the game to do it. After a lot of experimentation, I settled on a design that I think looks pretty decent. I'm not a pixel artist, but I'm doing my best. I also added a few blades of grass in other places just to balance things out. Also, I decided to make the entire thing taller by another 6 cubes. I originally was afraid of the cubes getting too close to the heater and melting, but it blows outwards from the bottom, so it probably won't be a problem after all. This means I get to add another chicken! It helped a lot to zoom out sometimes to see what it looks like from a distance. It also helps to put the original art next to my own work to see how they compared. I also noticed that this sprite seems to be cut off on the edges. Sure enough, it's at the limit of 16, whereas I have 18 pixels to work with. So I think I'm gonna draw on the rest of his hands. There's this mild optical illusion where the stuff on the edges of a frame seem to extend a bit further than it actually does. I call it the cropped pool effect. Your brain basically auto-completes the space beyond the edge of a photo. Some hotels take advantage of this by cropping their pools to make them look bigger than they actually are. It's interesting to see that this applies to sprite art too. So I added some more background around Link while drawing his hands to temporarily eliminate that effect. Here's the whole thing as it might appear on my wall. I think it's definitely better now. Regardless, I can still change the design later. So I ordered the cubes, and now I just have to wait a week or so for them to arrive. In the meantime, we went on a week-long family canoe trip, and I brought my drone. They called me crazy for bringing a drone on a canoe, but look how sweet these shots are. And this one's really serene. They're not technically Rubik's Cubes. Oh man, just one of these is heavy. He invented this.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There's a level? I don't know what most of these things are for. And ta-da!
Oh god.
Wow.
Okay.
So, multiply that by 4, and that's the number of cubes I've got. I'm gonna have to clean all that up, and then I can build the cubes on a table. So, here's the new Lego room. It's kind of a mess right now, because I had my nephews over. So you can see that, well, they've been up to things. One of them filled the porta potty with bombs. There's a vending machine on the roof. It's like that movie, The Hangover. It's like you wake up and just looking around and it's like, what happened last night? Okay, now I just have to solve 144 Rubik's Cubes. How hard could that be? Actually, it's not so bad since I only have to solve one side. There are instructions included with the kit, so anyone can do it. though I did come up with a few extra tricks of my own to make it go faster by the end. Overall, it still took me about 5 hours to solve and place all the cubes. Note that I've never successfully solved a Rubik's Cube in my life. By the way, these aren't actually Rubik's brand cubes. This is a Rubik's Cube. These ones are not, but they do the same thing. I think the orange is too intense. It's like a neon. Compare that to the mini cubes, which are just about right, and the original Rubik's Cube, which looks dull by comparison. Oh no. About these smaller cubes, they're almost exactly half the width of a full-size cube. They're just a tiny bit bigger than that, so you basically get twice the resolution. I'm still glad I went with the full size though, because I just think it looks more impressive. And now I just have to mount it to the wall. The system uses drywall screws, but I happen to have a stud in the perfect place, so I'll be using that. Now, I was supposed to put rubber bands on the slabs, then assemble the entire frame with just one shelf at the bottom, and then put 4 screws in the wall, and then mount the frame on the wall, and then put the cubes on. This is not what I did. Instead, I tried standing it up without any wall support at all. It bows out. No, that's not happening. And the entire thing nearly fell apart when I tried putting it back down. If it goes wrong, I do need it on camera. I know everyone watching wants it to go wrong.
Yes, put it back on its back.
Ah. So, I took the 4 frames back apart and put shelves on the bottoms of all 4. This means that each slab can be handled individually. And fortunately, the tiny bit of extra height after every 6 cubes is barely noticeable. Only after I figured this out and did some careful measuring did I actually drill any holes in the wall. And then I mounted them from bottom to top, and it worked perfectly.
That's awesome.
And there it is, a deliciously nerdy addition to my gaming corner. Oh, I decided to make the chickens completely white after all, so they don't conflict with the yellow grass. This does mean that I had to resolve a dozen cubes, so it's really good that I used the resolvable mounting method instead of the permanent method where the cubes are stuck on with a sticky layer. I might even change out the whole thing one day. On that note, I did come up with 2 other possible designs for this project. The rubber band system for holding them in place works way better than I thought it would. You even get a card to smush the rubber band deeper into the cubes to make it invisible. Just be careful not to slice off the stickers when you do this. I don't like how this partially solved edge looks, because it faces towards me more than the actual front. If I want to make it part of the design, I'll have several restrictions on what colors I can use, depending on what I already used for the front. So I might just scramble it into completely random colors. Anyway, I am super happy with this. I think it's so frickin' cool. If you want something like this for yourself, go to twistpixel.com. This video is not sponsored, and I have no affiliate deal or anything, but the owner, Ashton, is one of my consulting clients, and I did get this for free. Anyway, my next video is all about video transitions, where to get them, how to use them, etc. Subscribe for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.